The thunder rolled across the Seattle skyline as Elena Reeves stumbled through the darkness, rain soaking through her thin jacket. Every step away from her uncle's house felt like both freedom and falling. Behind her lay 23 years of control, manipulation, and cruelty. Ahead stretched nothing but uncertainty and the storm. Elena's backpack contained everything she owned: $200 in crumpled bills, a few changes of clothes, her mother's jade bracelet, and a sketchbook filled with drawings she'd hidden from her uncle's critical eyes. It was pathetic how little remained of a life that once held promise. Her Uncle Gerald's words still echoed like poison: "You're worthless without me, Elena. Your parents left you with nothing. No skills, no future, no value. Where will you go?" She'd wanted to scream that she had value, that she was talented, that her mother had believed in her dreams of becoming an artist. But 8 years of Gerald's systematic cruelty had worn down her confidence until she almost believed him. Almost. The truth was her parents had loved her. Before the accident took them when she was 15, they'd been her champions, supporting her art, encouraging her ambitions. But the court had placed her with her father's brother Gerald, a bitter man who saw her as both burden and servant. For 8 years, he'd systematically destroyed everything she held dear. First, he'd thrown away her art supplies, claiming they were wasteful. Then he'd forbidden her from applying to art schools, insisting she work his failing bookshop for no pay. He'd isolated her from friends, monitored her every move, made her feel like she owed him everything for simply existing. Last week, Gerald announced he was closing the shop and moving to Arizona. Elena would be sent to live with his sister Margaret, a woman whose cruelty rivaled his own. The choice had been clear: accept another prison, or run. Lost in thought, Elena didn't notice the terrain changing. The sidewalk had ended somewhere behind her, replaced by rough gravel. She looked up, disoriented, and realized she'd wandered off the main road onto a private drive. Through the rain, she could make out a massive estate, modern architecture of glass and stone, lights glowing warm against the storm. She should turn back, find the main road, keep moving. But her legs felt like lead, exhaustion pulling at every muscle. Elena took another step and her vision blurred. The world tilted sideways. She barely felt herself hit the ground before darkness claimed her. She woke to warmth and softness, completely disoriented. The ceiling above her was unfamiliar, high and white with exposed wooden beams. Beneath her was the most comfortable bed she'd ever felt, covered in blankets that smelled like cedar and rain. "You're awake." Elena jerked upright, immediately regretting the sudden movement as her head spun. A man sat in a chair near the window, backlit by gray morning light. As her vision cleared, she could see him properly: mid-30s with dark hair touched with silver at the temples, sharp features softened by concern, and eyes the color of storm clouds. "Where am I?" Elena's voice came out hoarse. "What happened?" "You collapsed on my property last night during the storm. You were hypothermic and exhausted." He stood, moving closer but maintaining respectful distance. "I'm Marcus Sterling. You're at my estate outside Seattle. You've been unconscious for about 10 hours. Panic flooded through Elena. She tried to get up, but her body refused to cooperate. "I need to leave." "I'm sorry for trespassing, you need to rest." Marcus's voice was firm but gentle. "My doctor examined you last night. You're severely malnourished and dehydrated. Running off in your condition would be dangerous." "Your doctor?" "I have a private physician on call. Don't worry, you're safe here. No one reported anything to authorities." He paused. "Elena Reeves. That's the name on the library card in your backpack. I wasn't snooping, just trying to identify you." Elena felt heat flood her face. Of course he'd looked through her things. She was a stranger who'd collapsed on his property. "I'll leave as soon as I can stand," she said quietly. "I don't want to be any trouble." Marcus studied her with unsettling intensity. Where were you going last night? In a storm, with almost nothing? Away. The word came out sharper than intended. Just away. Something in his expression shifted, recognition, maybe, or understanding. Running from something or toward something? Does it matter? It might. He settled back in the chair. I'm not going to force you to stay or call anyone. But I'd like to understand why a young woman with obvious talent, I saw your sketches, was wandering through a storm looking like she'd given up. Elena felt tears threatening. She was so tired of being strong, of pretending everything was fine when her world had been falling apart for years. My uncle, she whispered. He's controlled everything since my parents died. The way I dress, where I go, what I do. He told me art was worthless. That I was worthless. Last night, I decided I'd rather face the streets than another day of that prison. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice held unexpected emotion. My wife used to say that creativity was the most valuable thing humans possessed. That anyone who tried to suppress it was committing a form of murder. He paused. She died 3 years ago. I've been living in a different kind of prison ever since. Their eyes met, and Elena felt something pass between them, a recognition of shared pain, of understanding what it meant to be trapped. Stay for a few days, Marcus said. Recover your strength. Let me help you figure out your next step. No obligations, no expectations. Just a safe place to breathe. Elena should refuse. Should protect herself from depending on another person's kindness. But looking into Marcus Sterling's storm-cloud eyes, she saw genuine concern, not control. Why would you help me? Because someone should have helped you long ago, he replied simply. And because I think we both need to remember that kindness still exists. Elena found herself nodding, exhaustion and hope tangling together. Just a few days. Just a few days, Marcus agreed, though something in his expression suggested he already knew it would be much more than that. Elena spent 3 days recovering, slowly regaining strength. Marcus's estate was vast but surprisingly warm, filled with art, books, and an underlying sadness that permeated every room. His housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, brought meals and kind smiles, never asking intrusive questions. On the 4th day, Marcus found Elena in his library, sketching the view through floor-to-ceiling windows. He watched silently before speaking. You're talented. Really talented. My uncle said it was a waste of time. Elena set down her pencil. Your uncle was wrong. Marcus moved closer. Elena, I have a proposition. My late wife Anya was an art collector. Her collection fills an entire wing, paintings, sculptures, installations. It's been catalogued haphazardly. I need someone with an artist's eye to properly organize it, research the pieces, create a comprehensive archive. Elena's breath caught. Marcus, I don't have credentials, you have passion and understanding. That matters more. He handed her a folder. Full salary, benefits, and you'd live here. The guest house is yours if you want privacy. It's real work, Elena, not charity. She studied the offer, her heart racing. Why me? Because you see art the way Anya did, as something alive and essential. And because. He paused. Because I think we both need this. You need a fresh start. I need someone who can bring life back to those collections. Elena accepted, and the following weeks transformed her. The collection was extraordinary, modern pieces alongside ancient artifacts, paintings from unknown artists beside famous masters. She spent days researching, cataloging, and slowly rediscovering her confidence. Marcus worked from home, running his tech empire remotely. They fell into comfortable patterns: breakfast discussions about art history, afternoon walks through the estate gardens, evening conversations that stretched past midnight. He told her about building his company from a college startup, about the loneliness of success. She shared stories of her parents, her abandoned dreams, the years of feeling invisible under Gerald's control. One rainy evening, working late in the collection wing, Marcus brought her tea and stayed, watching her work. "You've brought something back to this place," he said quietly. "Something I thought died with Anya." Elena looked up from her notes. "What's that?" "Purpose. Warmth. Life." He moved closer. "Elena, I need to tell you something. About Anya. About why I've been so isolated." His expression held fear and vulnerability that made her chest ache. "Then tell me," she said softly. "Whatever it is." They sat in Marcus's private study as rain hammered the windows. His hands shook slightly as he poured whiskey neither of them would drink. "Anya wasn't human," Marcus said finally. "She was an extraterrestrial researcher studying Earth's artistic development. We met at a gallery opening. She was fascinated by human creativity, by how we turned pain and joy into beauty. We fell in love despite the impossibility." Elena listened, her heart pounding but her mind surprisingly calm. "We had a daughter. Iris. She's 6 now, brilliant, extraordinary, and half alien. Her skin has a purple tone from Anya's genetics." His voice cracked. "Anya died giving birth. I've kept Iris hidden ever since because if the world knew she existed, she'd become a specimen, not a child." "Where is she?" Elena whispered. "Here. In a secure section of the house. She's never been outside freely, never played with other children. She exists in a beautiful cage because I don't know how else to protect her." Elena stood. "Show me." Marcus led her through hidden corridors to a stunning space filled with art supplies, books, and advanced technology. A small girl sat painting, her skin a soft lavender that seemed to shimmer. She had Marcus's features but eyes like galaxies, deep purple and knowing. "Iris, this is Elena. She's been working with your mother's collection." The girl studied Elena with unsettling intensity. "Your heart rate increased when you saw me." "Surprise, not fear." "That's good." "Hi, Iris," Elena said, kneeling. "Your father says you like to paint. May I see?" Iris's painting depicted emotions as colors and shapes, abstract but profound. "Mother said art is how humans touch infinity." "Do you believe that?" "I do," Elena said honestly. "Your painting is beautiful." Over the following weeks, Elena visited daily. She brought new art supplies, played games, treated Iris like the child she was beneath her vast intelligence. The girl bloomed under attention, laughing and creating with newfound joy. Marcus watched them together with visible emotion. "She's never bonded with anyone like this. You're giving her what I couldn't, normalcy and acceptance." One evening on the estate's terrace, after Iris was asleep, Marcus pulled Elena close. "I love you," he said quietly. "Not just for accepting Iris, but for being exactly who you are. For bringing light back into our lives." "I love you too," Elena whispered, tears streaming. "Both of you. This strange, beautiful family." Their kiss was tender and desperate, full of promises about impossible futures they were brave enough to believe in. 6 months later, Elena stood on the deck of their coastal estate, watching waves crash against rocky cliffs. The property was paradise, isolated but beautiful, with a private art gallery and research facility where Marcus continued his work. Gerald had dropped his claims after Marcus's lawyers presented overwhelming evidence of financial abuse. He'd taken a settlement and disappeared. Derek faced federal charges for corporate espionage and attempted extortion. The threats had evaporated like morning fog. Iris thrived here. She ran along the beach with her purple skin glowing in sunlight, created extraordinary artwork displayed in their private gallery, and slowly learned to be the child she'd never been allowed to be. Elena had completed her art degree online and now curated their gallery while maintaining Anya's collection. Her own artwork was gaining recognition, exhibited under a pseudonym in select galleries. Critics called her work hauntingly beautiful, touching something beyond human experience. She smiled at that. Marcus found her on the deck as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant colors. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Happy?" he murmured against her hair. "Impossibly so." "Good. Because I have something to ask you." He turned her to face him, dropping to one knee as thunder rumbled in the distance, an approaching storm, like the night they'd met. "Elena Reeves, you came into my life during a storm, broken and beautiful and brave. You brought light back to this house, love back to my heart, and joy to my daughter's life." He pulled out a ring with a purple stone that seemed to hold starlight. "This was Anya's. Before she died, she told me to give it to someone who could love Iris as their own and see beauty in impossible things." Tears streamed down Elena's face as he continued. "Will you marry me? Will you be Iris's mother and my partner in this extraordinary life we're building?" "Yes," Elena whispered. "Yes, absolutely yes." Iris burst onto the deck, cheering. "I painted this 3 months ago. I knew she'd say yes." She held up a canvas showing this exact moment, Marcus kneeling, Elena crying happy tears, storm clouds gathering overhead. They laughed together, holding each other as rain began to fall, gentle this time, cleansing rather than punishing. Marcus kissed Elena deeply while Iris danced around them, her purple skin glistening with raindrops like she was made of stardust. Later, wrapped in blankets on the covered deck, they watched the storm roll across the ocean. Elena thought about the terrified girl who'd fled into another storm 6 months ago, convinced she had nothing and no one. That girl would never have believed this was possible. But here she was, engaged to a brilliant man, learning to trust again, mother to an extraordinary child who needed her, finally pursuing the art career she'd thought lost forever. "I used to think storms were something to escape," Elena said softly. "Now I know, sometimes they're what lead you home." "You are home," Marcus murmured. "For both of us." Iris snuggled between them, pointing at lightning dancing across the horizon. "Mother used to say the universe speaks in storms, that chaos is just another form of beauty." She was right. Elena looked at the ring glowing on her finger, at the man who'd saved her by letting her save herself, at the child who'd taught her that family is built through choice and love rather than biology. She'd escaped Gerald's prison expecting to find nothing. Instead, she'd found everything: love that transcended worlds, art that finally flowed freely, and a family that chose each other despite every impossibility. Above them, storm clouds parted to reveal emerging stars. Elena had spent years being told she was worthless, that her dreams meant nothing. But the universe had other plans. Sometimes the cruelest endings are actually beginnings in disguise. Sometimes running into storms leads to sanctuary. Sometimes the people who save you are the ones who needed saving too. As thunder rolled across the waves and Iris's laughter mingled with the rain, Elena realized she'd finally found what she'd been seeking all along, not escape from pain, but the courage to transform it into something beautiful. The storm had brought her home. And home was exactly where she belonged. Elena was cataloging a new acquisition when Mrs. Chen appeared, her face pale. "There's a man at the gate. He says he's your uncle and he's demanding to see you." Gerald stood at the estate entrance, looking older and meaner. Behind him lurked Marcus's former business partner, Derek Walsh, who Elena recognized from photos. "There you are," Gerald sneered. "Living like a princess while I lose everything. You owe me, Elena. 8 years of room and board." "You owe her nothing but apologies," Marcus said, appearing beside Elena. "Leave now. Not until we discuss compensation." Gerald's smile was cruel. "Derek here has been very helpful. He told me about your interesting secret, the purple-skinned child you keep hidden. Imagine what the media would pay for that story." Elena's blood ran cold. Derek Walsh smirked. "Marcus stole clients when I left his company. I've been waiting for leverage. Your little alien daughter is perfect. Name your price, Marcus said coldly. 2 million. Each. Gerald's eyes gleamed. Or the world learns everything. Before Marcus could respond, Elena stepped forward. You want money? Fine. But I'm pressing charges for 8 years of financial exploitation and emotional abuse. My parents' estate was never yours to control, Gerald. My lawyer will prove you stole everything. You don't have a lawyer, Gerald scoffed. She has mine, Marcus said. And I promise you, fighting us will cost far more than you'd ever extort. Derek, I have documentation of your corporate espionage. One phone call brings federal investigators. Gerald paled, but Derek laughed. Threats won't work. We have photos, videos. The alien child exists. That's a story worth millions regardless of legal threats. That night, with Gerald and Derek temporarily stalled by lawyers, Marcus held a family meeting. We have to leave, he said grimly. Relocate somewhere they can't find us. I have a property on the Washington coast, completely secure and off-grid. I'm not running from him again, Elena said firmly. Gerald has controlled enough of my life. Then we fight together, Marcus replied, taking her hand. But if we fight, you need to understand, life will never be normal. Protecting Iris means constant vigilance. Elena looked at Iris, frightened but trusting, then at Marcus, the man she loved. Normal is overrated. Where do we start?